I saw everything. The connection between two worlds. About a century ago, humans were defeated by the Vulgus. Invaders from the other world. Then came the Colossi, who destroyed everything. Humans resisted until they could no longer. Then they found hope. They were gifted the Forgotten Ancestors' power. Finally, they could fight with newfound strength.
Welcome to Between the Joysticks! Press start and then we're off! Nick and John, they've got the sauce! Breaking news and some hot takes! Even if there's some mistakes! Nick is captaining the ship, while John gives thoughts straight from the hip! But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time! Between the Joysticks is the best, up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 103 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host, John Chan. John Chan, how was your time off? How was your extended weekend?
My 4th of July, my America Day weekend?
Yeah.
It was fine. I did the typical American thing, right? We always have to barbecue. We always have to have like a beer or two.
Check.
I'm not a big drinker, so I didn't go crazy with that.
No, I didn't drink at all.
But other than that, it was just kind of par for the course, man. You don't.
Lots of family,
and my daughter's being 2.5. It's just such a unfortunate age to plan things. Like if you go out, if you go somewhere, you still got to think of nap time. You still got to make sure you have the diapers and the wipes and the sunscreen and the this and the that. And I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about my kids. So
right.
So no, it was nice. We just kept it low key, kept it with my immediate family, and I'm fortunate enough that my mother-in-law, who lives 3/4 of a mile away from me, has a above ground pool that is perfect for kids.
Yeah, there you go.
We have a nice community pool too. That's very, very nice. But you also don't want to run into people and you don't want to have to do that kind of socialize. Yeah. So, but I weirdly got some good amount of playing in too. So it wasn't too bad.
Good.
Wasn't too bad.
Good.
How about you, buddy?
I experienced what it's like in the day of John, like a weekend of John's life. I went out with family where there were 5 nephews and nieces, the oldest being 10 and youngest being about 1.5. Mm-hmm. So it was.
So everything revolves around them.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's what. Yeah, that's kids.
And kind of get this back to our video game podcast is just seeing what they're into, and it's they like MetaQuest. Mm-hmm. Beat Saber and Gorilla Tag, and they like Fortnite a lot. Yeah, it revolves around their world. And he's 8 years old. He did a 3-way FaceTime just to talk Fortnite with his buddies.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I know that's coming for me. I feel like it's a freight train that's rolling down my path. I almost welcome it in a weird way, though, because if it can get Levi off Roblox, I feel like that's a good trade.
Right.
But it is interesting, man. I went to Cedar Point, like I said, last week, and kids will be kids, and they'll just talk to each other. It doesn't matter if we have friends or not. Right. So, kids get into their aura of each other, and, what video games do you play? Every time.
Right.
And, yeah, it's the reports that we see where there's 7 games that kids play and that takes up 60% of the time, I get it, man.
Right.
It's all Roblox to the point where I know you don't play Roblox, please never do, but it's just a bunch of tiny little bullshit games in there, right?
I'm familiar with
and they're
premise,
spouting out, oh yeah, you play Break Your Bones 4? It's yeah, I got the it's how you, to the point where they know these specific bullshit games, and it's the Wild West out there, man. Those kids, man, they're into some weird shit. But it is funny you say MetaQuest, because I did ask my nephew a while ago. I was like, "What's the one thing that would catapult you to the top of the cool list? What's the thing? When I was a kid, it was fossil washes and Birkenstock sandals. Different times. Mm-hmm. He's MetaQuest immediately. So I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't get any time with it. I wanted to check it out, but it is funny watching them play it. It's just it's like I don't know if you remember the initial Cyberpunk 2077 trailer where there's just a kid and he's just doing all this weird shit in the living room, and it's just the same thing. Like there's no audio, there's no like he's just sitting there flicking his hands and.
Did I tell you that I played one about a week ago?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll keep with the story. But I was at for fireworks for my wife's cousin was hosting a party or whatever, and he's pretty well off. And granted, his wife's well off. She's like a C level. She was a C level person at Avis when I got hired in there. So she's just big house, all that good stuff. And his son had a Meta Quest 3. He's like, you got to try this thing out. I played VR 4 before. He's like, no, come play this thing. So he straps it on my head, and he set up the ping pong game, right? And I was like, because he's like, I got either golf or ping pong. Which one do you want to do? And I was like, well, give me ping pong because I'm familiar with that in a real sense. So I think I could, and it's pretty good. Like it tracks really well. But I will say, I was a little mad because he put me into an automatic ranked match against a dude from where is he? Honduras. So I'm playing, I'm like, well, that's weird. And he goes, what do you mean that's weird? Just like a voice in my head. I'm like, I know that I'm being watched behind me. I was like, is there a guy here? He's like, yes, I'm here. Okay. Luckily he was nice. He's like, you've never played this before, have you? I was like, no, why? He goes, well, usually if you have a rank score of 1800, you're way better than this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he was nice, but it is a cool piece of tech. But yeah, the kids love it, man. They fucking love it.
Yeah. It's just times are changing. So,
is there there's not a Fortnite VR mode, right?
Not that
I know there is a Roblox VR mode.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. So,
it's coming.
I have thought about it. I was like, maybe now's the time. Like, if I'm gonna start thinking of Christmas presents, future Christmas presents, probably a good one to get. Because I got to admit, man, I'm kind of starting to gravitate even further away from the idea of even doing a PSVR 2. It's like, if I were to get one, I should probably...
Well, we were up at a cabin and they were able to, bring it. And it's just a simple setup that needs to be charged occasionally. But as long as you have,
and I can play
power, you're
Alex,
good to go.
And I can play all these other games that are exclusive to Steam VR. It's like, well, yeah.
Can you play Alex on Meta Quest, though?
It has to be attached to a PC.
Oh, okay.
But it allows you to access Steam, which allows you to play the game, and then effectively it'll act as screens as long as you have a computer that can run it. But I don't know. Not to go off on too much of a tangent here.
Where are you going with this?
I don't know.
Because pretty soon you'll be able to do a PSVR 2 as well. You'll be able to connect it to a PC.
For sure. But I don't know. It's just the untethered nature of it.
Yeah.
It's just. Yeah,
it's definitely more.
Sony let it die, man. The PSVR 2. It's they're talking on Sacred Symbols. There has been one game they've made for that from a first party standpoint so far. Still, that's crazy.
Yeah, we've been beating that dead horse.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have learned the Vita lesson. You got to do more than the Uncharted Golden Abyss. You have to do more than that.
Right. But yeah, the Meta Quest is it's a consumer level. It's not as expensive as the Apple Vision, which is $3,500, and PSVR 2, at $600. But you also need a PlayStation 5, so that
I think Meta does have
up.
that weird Pro version too. It's $1,500, but it's supposed to compete with Apple, but that's not meant for gaming. Yeah, it's VR is still. They still got some figuring out to do.
No, the price just has to come down. Like I said, we just talked about the kids are into it, so it's
got to get to the point where developers feel a benefit to actually making games for them as opposed to just a cost sink to prove the tech.
Right. Or I'm sure right now it's just Facebook, Sony just throwing money. Yeah. The sales aren't recouping the cost of the development.
No, yeah. These companies they don't think in months, they think in or even years, they think in decades, right? And so hey, if we can get going with this tech now and it becomes a thing in 2040, we're positioned well.
Right.
So. Smarter people than me. Let's talk about video games though.
Okay. So do you want to get into the show then?
No, you do it.
All right. This is how the show works. John and I both bring up to 3 things to talk about for a total of 6 things. It can be a video game we're playing. We are going to be talking The First Descendant, Zenless Zone Zero, of course, bringing back Shadow of the Erdtree, and much, much more. It can be a topic. It can be a news item. It can be an email from you, the listener. You can email us at betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. You can DM us on Twitter @joystickspod. Follow us there for updates on the show. And finally, a comment on our YouTube page at Between the Joysticks. Any of those things, we'll bring it. And we got quite a few things for you today. So, John,
Meh.
I wanted to kick things off over this holiday week. 2 giant free-to-play games launched.
I hate that sentence, but continue.
The first one being the First Descendant from Nexon, and the second one being Zenless Zone Zero, the third game in the Hoyoverse, the makers of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. So, John, I wanted to start with the First Descendant.
Okay.
And to kick things off here, too, John, we cover a lot of things here. I think we cover most games, but I will say one of our holes is free-to-play games.
Free-to-play and sports. Those are probably the big ones.
But, you
can't cover sports in a meaningful way anyway.
Right, and outside, and it's funny because this year it's kind of meaningful because college sports is coming back, and that's I think that's going to be a big deal. But yeah, you're right. We don't cover sports games at all.
Yeah.
But free-to-play especially, and I think, that's something we need to change, and I'm glad I did because I checked out 2 games that I wouldn't normally look at and could finally have like decent opinions on the free-to-play market. And I guess before we even get into the First Descendant 2 is how do you feel about free-to-play games?
I think that opinion is pretty well spoken on this podcast. But for any new listeners or just to kind of I guess get it on paper, yeah, I mean it's a viable, lucrative, understandable space for companies to want to be in because if you can get a successful one, you have a cheat code to life. Epic never needs to worry about their funds ever again for any game they make, not just Fortnite because they have that cash cow. So I get it. Unfortunately, I think we've long past jumped the shark in just the total amount of these things that can occupy an actual mind share. And we need to make sure, and it'll never happen, but I would like to see a future where companies are a little more strategic and thoughtful with what they're doing to provide a unique experience because this one is pretty generic in a lot of ways. And so just on free to play, they're time sinks. I don't know how people have time for them. If you want to get actually into one, you almost need to forego every other type of gaming, and that's just a sacrifice I'm not willing to make.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely meant for the younger crowd.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're definitely they grew up with it, so they're more used to it as opposed to when John and I were growing up, we're more traditional video games. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, and a lot of these games are going to argue comparisons to existing games, and we'll definitely get into the First Descendants comparison to Destiny. But yeah, how do you enter this space where your competitors have years on you and such a huge hold on this market that how does the First Descendant come in and, knock people's socks off and just even take a small percentage? I'm sure 5% of the free-to-play market would be great for them, or 1%,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, big, lot of money.
That these are big shoes to fill, and yeah, and just from the monetization and the different amounts of currencies for this and Zenless Zone Zero. There's just so many different resources you have to keep track of that buy you different things here or do different things here that, man, are they so off-putting.
Yeah, it really is hard to put into words just how like a lot of the little decisions that free-to-play games make or way that these games are built, it's like death by 1,000 cuts where it's like I started playing, I don't want to get into the gameplay yet, but like started playing this game and like nothing inherently about it bugged me on a whole.
Right.
But then a little thing happened. I'm like, okay. Like a little, and then like another piece of currency comes in. I'm like, what is that? I don't want to worry about that. And then I eventually get to like the hub world. Yeah. And that was when I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I don't want to have to worry about this. Like it's the same reason I could never get into Destiny. It's just there's so much to these games that I'm just not willing to put. I feel like they're asking me as a player to kind of reciprocate and be like, hey, learn these systems, learn these worlds, learn this stuff. And like, I'm not willing to do that for the amount of time needed to get, a worthwhile time out of it, I feel like.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. And yeah, and the other part is, the grind, right? And you have to, if you don't want to pay any money, you have to just grind missions, resources, enemies over and over and over, be very repetitive to get those things, or you can pay for it and then you get kind of that leg up.
Yeah.
You can unlock content faster, get the better gear. I was in a really early mission and had someone partnered in my little squad in the First Descendant who had obviously paid.
Yep.
They had a legendary character at that point.
Yep. And maybe that's maybe that is like a viable thing for these companies. Like, I don't know how much money Nexon dumped into this thing. I don't know how what their price point is to consider this a success that we made our money back. But there also could be a viable world where they're like, look, we know that we can put out a product that people are going to jump into, at least initially, right? There was over 250,000 downloads on Steam alone over the weekend. You and I checked it out. When I checked Twitch this morning, there's about 40,000 people watching it. If they can at least capture a small amount of people to continuously put towards it, right? People always talk about whales. They talk about things like that, to at least...
What's a whale?
A whale... thank you. A whale is somebody in the free-to-play space, or really in the video game space, who is going to dump an insane amount of money into a single project, right? And so, like, my mom is a whale. She does this stupid mobile game that my dad's probably paid $10,000 over the last couple of years for.
Right.
And it's nonsense, but that's what she does. And so, maybe there's a world where that exists, and if they can ever, capitalize and get into that large, the Minecraft, Fortnite, Rocket League, Apex Legend territory, then that's just awesome for them. But maybe that's not even what they're trying to do. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just don't.
And
like
it's always I keep wanting to kind of do this topic on the show is like, how do we measure success? It came up recently with Stellar Blade only selling 1 million copies on PS5, and and these free to play games and Game Pass. It's like, what is a measure of success now for games? I know a lot of people like to point to concurrence, like you said, the Steam concurrence, 250,000, but is that success?
Yeah. I equate that to, how do you find success in movies, right? Do you find success in movies like what Deadpool and Wolverine's about to do, where they're going to make $1 billion? Is that successful? Fuck yeah, that's successful. But I would also argue it's successful to make something like, here's a weird movie off the top of my head, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Came out 2 years ago. It's an A24 French movie.
Here we go.
Super weird, right? But like, everybody who was into that stuff and saw that movie loved it, thought it was a masterpiece. So like, that's also successful.
Right. And
So
the amount of
like,
money put into that movie as opposed to just the marketing budget for Deadpool and Wolverine is ridiculous, So measures of success are always going to be different depending on the game, the platform, all kinds of things. But yeah, it is like, how do you...
It all depends on how it's being positioned. How is it being talked about from a developer and publisher standpoint, right? Are they looking at this thing to be the next tentpole pillar of their world? Maybe. I mean, I'm sure Nexon would love for First Descendant to kick off and stay there forever, but I don't think you can measure it in a flash in the pan kind of way. You have to measure it over, if it's a free to play game, you have to measure it over the next year. It's not how it's not how it launches, it's how it stays relevant, how it supports itself, and how it has an end game content.
Right.
And what's the longevity of that going to be? We just today are wishing Rocket League a 9-year anniversary, right?
Right.
That's an interesting example of a game, right? I obviously play it. It's the one free to play game that I play, but like, it's interesting because you could pull everything out of that game. Cosmetics, blueprints, paid stuff, whatever. And as long as you give me that shaped arena with that ball and that physics, I am good. So, like, they haven't gotten $1 out of me. But, like, there's obviously people, like, 9 years later, 20,000 people every single day. It's unequivocally a major success. But, like... I don't think we can.
No.
Free to play is just such
No.
You even listen to the masters, the Kyle Bossmans and Colin Morales talk about this shit. They don't know how to analyze it either because it's just so unique and every case is so different.
Yeah.
I think.
Right. I agree. Yeah, it's free to play is just a bizarre space, and let's dive into it a little further here.
Yeah.
So again, the first game we're going to talk about, the First Descendant from Nexon. It is described as a third-person looter shooter.
Schluter.
And then the plot of this and Zenless Zone Zero are really out there, but you play on this planet called Ingress, in which they open dimensional gates from other worlds, and this started an alien invasion from the Vulgus and Colossi.
Why does everything end in an is? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Sorry.
But you play as this hero character that is. I think they're looking for what in that first opening cutscene. They're looking for something. I forget what it's called. It started with I think
I
an
skipped
R.
every cutscene.
Oh, did you?
I didn't even bother. I wanted to see how it felt.
Okay. Well, there's the MacGuffin, right? That all the factions are looking for, and that's basically kind of the story. You find this MacGuffin who gives you in contact with a AI character called the Guide, the Vulgus commander, some generic evil dude steals it from you. Video game stories. Sometimes they're just there to get you into the action.
Most of the time. I guess, yeah.
But the direct comparison to Destiny is apt here. You have a hub world where you see a bunch of other players, and then you kind of go into zones, which are kind of open worlds where other players are running around, and they can kind of join your missions. And then that's kind of broken up by match-made missions that you do with other players, and then match-made boss fights that you also do with other players. And each of these things are just there to keep you on the loot grind. What's kind of unique to the First Descendant, though, is it is in a lot of these hero shooters are coming out. The character that you choose has unique abilities to them. I believe there's, it looked like 12 or so characters at launch here, and each of them are very different. And at the beginning of this game, you're given a choice of 3, and then you can grind out to unlock more, or as I said, pay money to unlock other characters. But let's get into it, John. Your impressions. How much did you play, and what did you think?
I probably played about an hour. Like I said, I just wanted to get a feel for, I'm a very gameplay-centric guy, right? So I wanted to see how it felt to move around, how it felt to shoot. And I think it did that side of it pretty well. It's a third-person shooter, but, felt snappy, felt very arcadey, right? Personally, I like numbers popping as long as it's not too egregious, and I like little red health bars above enemies. I like seeing what I'm doing in a moment-to-moment space, and from that angle, it felt good. Decent movement mechanics. I'm going to say something kind of weird here, but I played a lot of games over the weekend. Is there a grapple hook in this one?
Yes, there is a grapple hook.
Okay, I thought this was... So, yeah, it had the cool grapple hook where you can kind of add some verticality to it. So on that stand front. I'm so bad at this. I'm so bad at talking. It felt great, but it's just like I said, I knew that there was going to be absolutely no story element of this that I wanted to get down into. I wanted to see how into, like you said, the Destiny style, because that is something that I don't like a nebulous home or a base with just different little mini things that people are doing with each other. It's one of the reasons, like Helldivers, I never felt like there was something I should be doing.
Right.
It was always just do what you want. Here, you want to go fight robots? You want to go fight bugs? It's no, I want you to lead me down the path to get to the whatever. And so inherently, these just aren't for me, but I still wanted to feel it. There's a guy at work who was pretty amped about this game. I wanted to be able to at least have a little opinion on that. So needless to say, I spent about an hour with it. I didn't think it was bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think there was some solid video game just programming in here. I think Nexon did a good job with what they were trying to do, but it is incredibly generic.
Yes.
Pulling... It's one of those games where it's why would you not just play Destiny or Warframe? I don't know what this is adding to the landscape that those don't already have. And it just, caused me... I deleted it after I played it, right? It's not something I'm going to go back to. I never thought it was going to be in the get-go, but as you mentioned earlier, I'm trying to just at least... It's free, right? Why not?
Right.
It's here. It's low barrier of entry. I downloaded it when I was at work.
Right.
I popped it on when I got home first thing. 30 minutes, no big deal. An hour, whatever it was. Moved on with my life, but
sure,
it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm with you. I thought initially it played really well. The weapons felt good. Getting headshots felt good. But this is a looter shooter, and games that drop so much loot, and you have a lot. You have 3 guns in your inventory. Those can have attachments to them. Your Descendant can have equipable things, and I think up to 8 or so. And then there are parts that you equip. There's like a reactor core and then like 4 other parts that you equip to your character themselves that all have stats. And you're constantly picking these things up. So they're meaningless 90% of the time, because by the next mission you can swap out all those things for higher numbers. And, again, there are people who love that. But man, is that a drag.
Yeah, I like that as a kid. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if you remember a long time on the show. I remember talking, I think, specific about JRPGs and how I feel like it was such a strong feeling for me as a kid gamer, where it's just like I keep trying to find that next Final Fantasy X, and I can't do it. And every time I try to get into one, I'm just like, eh. And I feel like the tier level weapons is the same thing. I loved Borderlands trying to find legendary. I love Diablo trying to find legendaries, and like going into Diablo 4 this last time, I was just like, I don't care. Like I don't have the time for this.
Right.
I just don't.
And then it is exciting when you get those rares, but they're just so few and far between.
And with a free to play game, those are coming very far between.
Right.
Like they want you to.
So yeah, I was definitely turned off by that. The mission structure is basically just go to each zone and then face waves of enemies. Like that's exactly what you do, and then you fight a boss. And the one of the bosses I fought, it took us forever. He had 4 different health bars, and it just was a drag. Like 4 of us just pounding him through full of bullets. He's not reacting to it.
I've heard those Destiny raid bosses are kind of the same way,
yeah,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all our characters have special abilities, and we're just the cooldowns for those. Yeah, you're just just a war of attrition. You're trying not to die, but you're also trying to just slowly tick this health bar down, and I believe it had to have been like a 20-minute fight. Yeah. At least it felt like it. It probably was just like 10 minutes, but when you're just doing the same thing over and over, avoiding the same attacks over and over.
That's fair, but the Final Fantasy 16 boss fights took 45 minutes, and those felt like 5.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, give me more.
And then finally, the performance on I played on PlayStation 5. It got pretty framey for me at times, especially in the open worlds where other players were involved, and especially that main hub, Albion, where there's a bunch of different vendors and just other characters are just running around like crazy. It was like, ugh, my frame rate is dropping.
Dipped, yeah. That was the moment I turned it off. So
yeah, well, yeah. So then you probably didn't see it at all.
Yeah, I didn't see it too bad, but
yeah, these 3 things, and then just the generic nature of it. It's like the UI, the hub world, the zones is all pulled straight out of Destiny. Mm-hmm. It is, there's a post out there. People are comparing a lot of the icons are just slightly altered Destiny icons. Yeah. Like that's how close this comparison is. And,
definitely a low level of creative juices that went into this game. It seemed like more like game made by businessmen and bean counters rather than like creatives.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is an Unreal Engine 5 game, and it looks great. Like it is a very pretty looking game. I was able to unlock a second character and played around with that, and there is a notable difference between characters' abilities, even though they're all shooting the same guns. But just nothing here that's gonna bring me back. I can't do the grind, and unless I had some social circle that was pulling me in, I'd rather go play Destiny, which is
Destiny or Warframe, yeah. Well, Shroud's playing it right now, so we got that. It's got 12,000 viewers. But he does say, so this is probably my last day playing because there's so much happening this week. Time to take out my credit card and buy everything. Must be nice.
Yeah, there's a whale for you right there.
Must be nice.
But it's just, I as a person who enjoyed Destiny 2 at launch, I would just go play that.
Sure.
Like it feels better, it runs better, and just an overall better game. But
you get some decent.
It's not really a fair comparison because First Descendant. It's just out.
Yeah, it's just out.
Destiny's been out for quite a while now.
Bungie, who's arguably the best at all of this, doing it with. But yeah, I would say that makes sense. There's actual story content there too. That if you're into that stuff. But okay, well, see you, First Descendant. Bye.
Yeah, I don't think this
Probably
game will have legs, or definitely not the show. But I don't. There's nothing here that I think will have legs, and maybe it survives on a very small player base. I could see it being
one of those. Yeah, like.
Because those games exist. There's so many of them that.
I'm curious how many people are playing or watching Warframe right now. I wonder.
But I don't know. I don't.
1.5 thousand. Yeah, it'll be a Warframe probably, if that. If not, a little bit less.
So you said 1,500 people are watching Warframe?
1,500 watching, but also 3.3 million followers. So I think that's one of those games that, like,
right.
you know.
And again, these games are built on content. So when Warframe gets an update, I'm sure that number skyrockets and then dies down. But yeah, it'll probably, you're probably right. It'll just be something that exists that we just don't hear about, but is somehow just sustaining itself, you know, like a lot of these other free-to-play games. But not to be the only game to launch on the same day, like I mentioned, Zenless Zone Zero, the third game from the Hoyoverse, who also touted some amazing statistics of 50 million downloads in its opening weekend. So it's also enjoying a beefy player base here to start. And Zenless Zone Zero is it's a gacha game, just like Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact. The idea is that you want to basically play a lottery to unlock characters, equipment, and stuff like that. And again, this is a free-to-play game, so you know you can either grind those things out or you can pay real-life money to fast-track it. And all the free-to-play things are there, crazy currencies. I think there's like 7 or 8 different ones in this game, but this game is very anime-inspired. All the characters and the art direction is in that vein, and it is all really great. Like, this is pretty high production for a free-to-play game. It has a story, it has voiceover, it has cutscenes.
Oh yeah, they got that infinite money for Genshin. Again, no risk.
Yeah, and the story of this game is you play in this post-apocalyptic world called New Erdtree, and and you kind of play as you're kind of like a handler. Like all the gacha characters, the 16 characters that you can unlock in this game are kind of like your agents, and you kind of send them in this ethereal world to battle hollows. Or the portals are called hollows.
Okay.
The ethereal are the enemies. Sorry. Yeah,
sure.
Weird.
Yeah, it's fine. You could do either or.
Yeah, so you kind of recruit these people and you kind of send them on missions. And the missions are kind of interesting in themselves because they're played off like a board game. And the board game have different pieces that do things. And you know, I'm very early on in the game, so the board game itself is kind of pretty straightforward. You see enemies on that. You have switches that kind of can move things around, and then you can also take little portals that move to different, like deeper into the board game. Then, you know, it's just another level, like the second floor of the board game, and then you go to another portal and you're back up to the first floor. And it's all presented in this cool multi-screen TVs, like each board piece is a separate TV. So just from like an art direction standpoint, it's like it's amazing. It looks really great, but the combat itself is a third-person action game where you can rotate in. You go in with 3 of your agents, and then you can kind of rotate them in to do combos, and they'll kind of, the mission might tell you like, oh, it'd be better to have an agent that's good with fire or ethereal or electricity damage, and it's a generic like third-person action game. Square does your standard attack, and then you build up a meter.
Let me guess, triangle does heavy attack?
It does your special attack.
Okay, good.
So you build up a meter, do your special attack, and then you can use R1 to swap in characters. But also, if you time R1 with an attack, the other character will come in and block that attack, and then you can do a special parry attack. And there's special moves as well. So the game is kind of built up around just finding the right 3 for the mission, and then again, the grind is the loot, leveling them up, equipping them with these little spears, and then equipping discs to those spears to level them up as well.
I'm watching a stream of it right now. The presentation is pretty top tier. It's like, she's selecting her characters right now. It's got a big bear you can get.
Yeah, I got the big bear.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, the character designs are pretty great. I don't know. A lot of them are pretty great. I don't know. I just don't like the.
They're pretty great at the same time. They're samey.
Right. Right.
You know, it's like, okay, girl with pigtails, girl with pigtails, girl with pigtails, girl with ponytail. But there's also like some weird, crazy
like kitty characters, which I just don't get.
Yeah.
Like it's
a vibe.
Yeah, it's anime through and through. And in between missions, you do have like an open world city that you can explore.
They definitely took Persona inspiration from this,
Yeah.
didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the style of it is great. It is oozing with this unique style that makes it kind of fun to be in the world. But again, you play as like a brother and sister. Those are the handlers, and they kind of run a video store that you run and you pick what videos you want on the shelves. There's kind of a lot of weird things. There's mini games. There's an arcade you can go to, and the games are playable.
Right now, somebody in chat's freaking out because they're mad they lost 5 out of their 7 50-50 chances on a character.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. That's the gotcha. The gambling mechanic is you want A, to unlock new characters, and B, get the best version of them.
Yeah.
And then they all have their special spears that you want to
trying to explain to Levi why he can never get the 1 out of 10,000 chance thing in Roblox. It's never going to happen. Maybe it could. You're right. Maybe it could, but it's not gonna.
And when it does, oh man, my life's changing.
You go chase that high forever, and then realize 2 minutes later it doesn't actually matter.
So yeah, I'm with John. Like, free to play games they don't tick anything with me. I'd rather just go play. I have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth over here. I'd rather go play that than grind out so I can have a level 30 bear character in Genshin Impact.
Or it needs to be something wholly unique, like Rocket League still is. Right. And there's just no in between. You can't be generic. You have to stand out in some way. And if it's shooting based, you're not going to stand out because that's got Fortnite. If it's the RPG based, Genshin's probably got you. There's just, I don't know where you find it. You got to almost create your own. You have to create a battle royale style thing or something. Yeah,
and Rocket League's kind of an outlier because there's no real. You do grind for battle passes, but you're more about the game, the competition.
But that's why it's such an awesome game, because it is at its core just what it is. You got 4 cars, a ball, and the physics that apply to all that, and that's it. Go for it.
Right. And I know Helldivers is not a free-to-play game, though I imagine one day it would be because of the war bonds. But, that's built on just unique experiences and the ambient like stories that can come from being on a bug planet, and just a billion things can happen.
Fuck, what's that word? I know you're looking for a word, right? When you said ambient, what is
it just naturally happens.
There's a specific word though.
Yeah, we've used it before. Yeah. I don't know. I think we're off today we shouldn't be off because we've been on vacation.
Too much fireworks and hot dogs.
Yeah, but I'm sure this will be another successful game for them. It has all the. They have the money to put into it. It has the design, so I'm sure they'll do great.
Yeah, this is yeah. It is interesting though. I will say, like, when Genshin came out, all I would hear about is Genshin. Honkai came out, nothing about Honkai, and now it's just like, oh, we're moving on already. Okay, that's fine. It's just I wonder if how Honkai's doing. It's probably fine.
I'm assuming it's doing fine, but. Yeah, I mean, these
emergent storytelling.
The HoYoverse has the benefit of being on mobile phones too, so it's like I can play on my PlayStation, then play on my mobile phone when I'm at work, and then come back and it can be my whole life.
Infinite content. Infinite.
Yeah, but I'm sure again, this will be another free to play game that just exists and is doing very well. But
did those both get deleted off your console?
I still have Zenless Zone Zero on there, but
okay.
But I will probably delete it as well. I just don't. I just can't. Time is not infinite. When you get older, you realize that.
Unfortunately.
So there's much, like, especially it is kind of an interesting, because outside of this heavy month or week where these 2 free to play games came out, the rest of this summer until this August is kind of slow.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There might be a chance where I'm just like, I'll just play it because it's there. And
it is nice to have games like Rocket League is to me, where it's like, I don't feel like playing something, but I feel like playing something. Right. And
it's always there.
In 30 minutes, and no, I made a little progress, but it can't be your main thing.
No. So Zenless Zone Zero might appear again, but
Elden Ring. You can play Elden Ring.
No.
Okay.
Not a chance.
I'm not stopping.
But,
I ain't never going to stop recommending Elden Ring.
But that must be our cue to move on, because let's go back to the Land of Shadow, John.
Sure.
It sounds like you've made some significant progress since last we talked.
Significant maybe, but no, I did make some progress. We'll keep this short and sweet because it is weirdly a hard game to talk about since it's just more Elden Ring. But I am about, I would say 15 hours in if I were to guess. It's hard to tell again because it's just one running clock. I have 187 total hours of Elden Ring. I can tell you that.
Oof.
Which is a lot. But hopefully hundreds of more to go. But so more impressions on the game. I've made it probably another 3 or 4 bosses deep of like main bosses, not just guys you'd find kind of roaming the lands or in a catacomb or something tucked away. But I'm not going to say what those bosses are just because no need to spoil it if you haven't gotten there. And also, you're into this or you're not. So, but probably 15 hours in. First, I want to say that the big controversy of this game, or at least one of them, is the difficulty, right? And you said last week, John, maybe you're just good at Elden Ring. Maybe I'm the man. I don't know, but like I'm having a great time and it's tough. I'm dying still a lot, but like I don't see this ungodly difficulty curve that certain people are saying about.
It's no more difficult than the original game.
I don't think so, and that's why I should probably look into this a little bit more because between talking to you last week, listening to certain people online, Kyle Bossman, it seems like there's a weird. I need to hear from Hidetaka Miyazaki's mouth. Like, is the difficulty the same for everybody when they enter this, or is there something to like? Okay, I'm a level 300. I'm a level 100. Like. Big difference there because like I have watched videos of people fighting certain bosses and them getting hit by those bosses and it taking all of their health away, and those same bosses are hitting me and I feel like it's not comparable. So there's something going on.
Think it has something to do with your build compared to other?
It could, but like the build structure of FromSoft games is not so wildly crazy that your defense is going to vary that much, right? I might have a certain, like maybe I'm wearing a certain piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but like all that's to say that like I'm plugging along, right? I'm maybe dying to bosses 1 or 2 times. I am using a mimic. I am using skidoo tree fragments, but like I don't think there's any shade in that.
Are there new summons in this?
Yeah, there are new summons.
No interest in just trying them?
Well, and so this is going to seem like a negative Erdtree talk, but I want to, similar to when I talked about Tears of the Kingdom, it's still a 10 out of 10, right? So like,
okay.
Don't take that away. But like,
no, I think you're saying this is 1 out of 10.
I do continue to have this weird crossroads internally of like, I am picking up so many new things and different stuff, and this goes back to the base game too, and like I don't even think about it. And is that a problem of the game? Yeah, maybe it is, because like I almost wish that they told me you have to make a new build for this, because like going back in with my Moonveil Katana and just destroying people with what I have, I do feel like maybe a little bit I'm robbing myself of something, but I'm not enough to change up what I'm doing, because I'm still having a fantastic time. It still is rewarding as hell when I lose to a boss a couple times to get to the end of it and like have that little moment of panic, like I've used all my things, I don't have any more health, I got to go in there and get them, and that's still happening. So I don't feel like I need to mix up the way I'm playing at all. Yeah. But there are also all our weird spikes. Those furnace golems can get fucked. Those things suck. I'm not even trying. Like, players of FromSoft games know this, that there's certain enemies that have like understandable movesets, and then there's certain enemies that have just bullshit movesets.
Right.
And this is one of
somehow
those.
Worth the same as a simple enemy.
Yeah.
And
so it's like these things are massive towers, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to run, I'm going to swipe his feet, and then I'm going to run away. Well, they stamp the ground, which normal giants, then it creates a shockwave. Well, this like just creates a radius of fire so wide you can't outrun it. So I'm like, how are you even like, do I have to beat you ranged? I'm not sure. So like, some weird enemy, I don't know if balancing issues is the right thing, but like, there is that there in the DLC. And I will say I'm getting a little frustrated with the map, in the sense that part of the magic of Elden Ring and these open world games is kind of organically discovering your way and finding paths and things like that. But when you have a map like they do, and I have a certain point on that map I'm trying to get to, that's the spot I need. I need the map fragments there. It's going to open this up so I can see it better. And every which way you look, they added so much verticality to this to, I think, slow your progress down, so you're not just able to go wherever you need to go.
Right.
Or it's like, I need to get there, but I don't know where to go right now.
Right.
I don't know what to do, and it's frustrating. And so I wish there was a different, maybe a little bit better of a way, or maybe I'm missing something completely obvious, and it's just I went the wrong path. I went right when I should have went left.
You need some yellow paint?
I need some yellow paint. Yeah, give me some yellow paint. I'm fine with that. Or, again, it's what I almost don't like saying this, because I trust From Software so much that I know that they fucking built it perfectly. It's me as a player that's probably ignoring something or just not paying attention.
Sure.
Nick says while shaking his head at me because he doesn't understand the magic.
It's fine.
But
everyone has their developer.
Yeah, and you end up kind of making excuses for
They've
them
earned
because
it.
but all that to say, I'm still going. I would guess 40 to 50% of the way through this thing. I think I'm probably going through it pretty quickly based on how awesome I am at video games, I guess. But also taking my time and really just trying to stay in this, because who knows when I'm going to get more Elden Ring. I know I'll get more FromSoft stuff, but just trying to savor it. It's still a 10 out of 10. It'll still get that review probably from me when we get there, unless if I've heard some people don't like some of the final bosses. I've heard stuff like that, so might detract a little bit, but it's
and the social medias, everyone's saying how many times it takes to beat the final boss. So he's got to be something.
Yeah, do you know who it is?
I do, yes.
Okay, so do I. So don't worry. But still great. Got nothing else to really say though.
Okay. All right. So moving on, John, you've got some other games you wanted to bring?
Yeah, so, going back to me never having time, and you'd think that my biggest release of the year would capture all of my attention, but it also is very draining and a hard thing to pick up when your kids are napping. So, I'm not wanting to jump into that. So, decided to check out some other things. And so, first off, these will all be pretty quick. I'm going to rattle these off because I don't have deep thoughts, but checked out that Kunitsu-Gami
I meant to
demo.
mention that.
Which is that new tower defense type game from Capcom. So they released a demo from it. Capcom is just existing in this we can't miss phase. So it's just kind of like, something I wanted to check out. And Nick's giving me more looks, but I think it's just this one. It wasn't for him. It's not really for me either. But I'll get to that. But ever since Resident Evil 7, right? They've had a couple miss. Exo Primal, you could say, was a miss. But other than that, they're pretty good. And this game, it's very Asian inspired, you can tell from the name, right? It's got, princesses and war, swords and floral patterns and everything you kind of expect from an Asian inspired game. But it had, like I said, a tower defense mechanic to it. So you kind of start the game and it seems like, you have square for a slash and you have some active time mechanics to it, but also you have these gates that are kind of existing on the far end of think of a mini map, right? You got a small chunk of a mini map. You have this weird little princess character that's kind of going from one end to the other. She's got to get to the gate to close it because demons and things are coming through.
Yeah, at night demons come through.
Yeah, at night. So you kind of do this cycle where you're during the day kind of, I think, recruiting people and assigning them tasks and determining how you want to position them on the mini-map sort of thing, right? Again, you got the gate on one end, you start the other end. If you've played a tower defense, you know how this works. They enter, and then you kind of need to make sure they don't reach that front point of it, right? In this case, the princess. And as the level progresses, the princess is slowly moving forward as you continuously try to close this gate. I don't think it's not a game for me. I don't think it's a game for Nick. But I do think it's a game for certain people. Certain people who like that type of thing. It's a niche game. Much like 13 Sentinels, much like some other type of things like that. I don't think it inherently is poorly designed. I think there's probably a lot to like to it if you're into this. Art style I think it is a great looking game. Good art style. But it's just not going to be a thing that I'm going to want to repeatedly keep coming back to. It's like I played the first level, got to the second level, which just had a boss fight in there, and that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is now becoming too heady. It's now too strategic in what I like about video games. I would have preferred more of a more on the action side of things, where I'm able to kind of do the combat I need to, and let maybe some sort of auto system do the rest. But I don't know if you have any more thoughts, Nick. I didn't play much more than that.
The closest comparison, and usually I would think back in the day this would have been my jam, but I don't know why I just bounced off this hard, because it's very comparable to like a tower defense game where you're during the day kind of prepping your resources, and your resources for the most part just auto attack. Like in tower defense games, usually you're building towers and then a row of enemies will come through and you're trying to take them out. But in this, they're like actual people that you kind of like position on the map and assign them specific roles. There was only 2 roles in that first part of the stage. And then, during the day, you're trying to get this object.
That's right. You're going through and you're collecting, you're hitting plants and it's giving you these orbs that you can
Right. Yeah, and then at night is the tower defense phase where you're kind of just making sure you survive, and your character's a little more involved in that. You can actually fight, but I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. The character that you're protecting moves very slowly, which was very frustrating, and from the art direction to the character designs, and just how the game felt. I noped out pretty hard. Yeah. I knew, again, John and I have been doing this for a while, so it's like I know, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm just done.
That's an understandable nope. I feel like I kind of did what you did with this one with Unicorn Overlord. I should probably go back and give that another try, because I noped out immediately when there was a certain mechanic I didn't like. But this game is not going to light the world on fire. It's probably not going to even sell 500,000 copies, if I were to guess. But
I believe it's a Game Pass Day 1 game.
Yeah, it's more content. Next, though, a game that I've had my eye on for a while, but unfortunately the developers are being very stubborn and won't bring it to any type of consoles. And I was on my son's computer over the weekend getting him a little $5 game that he wanted, and saw that Tiny Rogues was on sale as part of Steam's summer sale. And I've talked on this show how much I love The Binding of Isaac, specifically because it takes what I like about roguelikes and just amplifies it to 11, right? Which is the idea that there's an incredible amount of variance with the weapons and things you can get to alter your runs to a stupid level and make it embraces the fun. And Tiny Rogues, I think, understands this and is definitely trying to take some inspiration from that. It's a very basic looking game, very low graphics. You look at it and you kind of go. In fact, I was playing this and my son goes, "Dad, when did this game come out? Did this game come out before you were born?" I was like, "No, Levi, this game."
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, this game actually came out 2 years ago.
80s arcade game.
But it's one of those type of games that graphics don't matter when it comes to what they're trying to pull off. It's my very first run, I unlocked a grenade launcher that fired kittens. That exploded and created rainbows as they fired at enemies. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then the next one, I got some sort of flaming sword that rotated around my body and clipped everybody. There's over 400 types of weapons. There's over 100 types of helmets and armors. And you beat a run, and there's a mastery system that has a skill tree that goes out and branches off a bunch of things. You have different characters that all have their own. It's one of those games. It cost me $6. But there's if you're into that style of another run, what's my build going to look like this time? Holy shit, this is a legendary run. This game is so much fun. Rinse and repeat. If you like that type of cycle, it's pretty great for what it's doing. I've only done 3 runs, so I'm still pretty new to the game and learning. Much like Hades, right? You do a room, then you got 2 doors that you can pick to okay, this one will give you the Daedalus hammer, or this one will give you this type of currency. Same thing. Do you need gold? Do you want a weapon? But it's just roguelike crack. It's one of those games. If you like roguelike games, if you play PC, or if this game ever migrates its way to console, I'll definitely be here to champion it for you. But it's very low cost of entry. Super fun stuff if you dig it. Friend of the show, Nick, I know that's you. And then lastly, this is one that I've been trying to do for a while now. I've put it off, but like I've started to go through my movie selection life, and recently realized that like there's not a lot of movies I haven't seen that I am like eager to watch. Like there's ones I want to watch and I have it on my list, but like I'm never clamoring to do it.
Sure.
And about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago at this point, we were at work and we had some downtime, and I put on Reservoir Dogs because I haven't seen that in probably since I was like 17. And so I'm like, I'm a much different person than I was when I was 17.
Right.
Like, let me watch this again and see if I'm getting something out of it. And, you know, I'm also partially telling this specific story because it's like Nick's favorite movie of all time. So
It's one of them. Yep.
yeah. So I was happy to report back to him that I was like, dude, that movie kicked ass. And like, but like as a kid, it's so dialogue heavy that I didn't appreciate it. So I wanted to go back and I wanted to replay the Halo series. I've been wanting to do this for a little bit because it is the crown jewel of Xbox. I played the campaigns of 1 and 2 when I was a kid. Haven't been back to them since. Have my Xbox and Master Chief Collection.
Never finished the fight?
No, I never did. But I've also, you know, as a PlayStation-focused guy, think I've maybe, you know, like I want to give this a fair shake. I don't want to shit on it too hard because, not shit on it, that's the wrong word. It's I wanted to make sure that I could evaluate it correctly in the history of video games. And so I'm about halfway through Halo 1 right now. And it's I got some mixed feelings about the game, you know. And first and foremost, I want to try and do what I do with my movies when I got to try and put myself into the year it came out, because that is important when you're evaluating something much in the future, right? I like silent movies, but like you have to watch it with the lens of it's 1935, and if you don't, you're gonna be bored,
right?
Most of the time,
right?
So this game, for a game that came out in 2001, is very, very, very well designed. It moves at a very good pace. You get into the world, you're immediately into the combat. It feels good. You know, I think it's got great enemies. The grunts are an all-time fodder enemy. They're funny. They're running around, you know, the very battle droid-esque from Star Wars. You know, it did a lot of things for the first-person shooting genre. Really kind of elevated it from that Doom-style 90s shooter into like, oh shit, like full-blown 3D whatever. The music is 10 out of 10. And this is maybe the biggest example of something of like, oh, I didn't quite get it as a kid, and now I do. Where it's like everybody always talks about the music of Halo, and typically it's the theme song, right? Oh, yeah. And it's cool, but like the music really shines when you're playing these levels, and like it gets to the end of like, okay, we're in the climax, and like the music kicks in, and it's like it really kind of makes you feel like you are a badass. I do think though that there is some things I'm still looking for in this replay through, because I plan on doing 1, 2, and 3 at least. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
If I'm feeling Reach, if I'm feeling ODST, maybe. I don't quite understand the story angle of it being lauded as this really high-level story thing. And just for full disclosure, my sacred symbols, the guys I listen to, Colin Moriarty, his co-host Chris Reagan, it's his favorite franchise of all time. Halo 3 is his favorite game of all time. He loves it. So he's always talking about like every part of this game being immaculate, and he's a multiplayer first guy.
I was going to say, like most people come from that angle, not the campaign angle.
But like he always talks about how like, oh, it's this awesome religious story, and like, you know, different peoples and the Covenant. You know, they have this ultra realistic religious faction.
That doesn't really. The first game doesn't really have that.
And I think 2 is when that really starts to kick off. But like, so I'm still just like, it very much has been like, you are nebulous soldier with nebulous leader and nebulous aliens, and you're just going here because it's a weapon, and so it's like I'm still waiting for that to like elevate itself. It's been nice playing the remastered version because like you can go back and forth with the graphics at a flip. I will say that's weird because like while the modern graphics look much better, and that's what I'm playing it in, they have made some weird choices. Like in the first level, it's nighttime, but you switch it to new graphics and it's daytime. It's like there's some weird things there, but Yeah, I'm happy I'm going through it. I wanted to make sure before I sold the Xbox, in case weirdly this doesn't ever migrate its way to PlayStation. I still think it will, at least the Master Chief Collection. I think it's just, once they've extracted all the value they possibly can, which they're probably getting close.
Yeah, that game's been out for a minute.
Yeah, it seems like something that would find its way home at PlayStation, because you add the multiplayer stuff into it, you get more players into that world. It thrives that way, but it's nice to pop in, do a level. It does feel like that video game design of 20 years ago. It's like very level based. It's like, hey, here's the next thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing. But like there also is just little dated things here and there where it's like, go find the next set of rescuers. It's like, okay, I don't have a map, I don't have a marker. Where am I supposed to go? I guess I'm just going to drive my Warthog around until I find some path I haven't been down. But it's good. It's good. I will be shocked if I exit this trilogy replay thinking that it's as top tier as it gets lauded to be. I still think it is, unfortunately, a series that is resting on the laurels of 10 years ago. We are still 4, 5, and Infinite less than 4 and 5, but like it's still a series that hasn't reached the peaks that it was at in 10, 15 years. So how do you do that?
It's hard.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool, and I'm happy I'm doing it, and it's a nice side game while I'm doing Elden Ring 2, when I'm just like, if I get frustrated with that, or if I don't have the time, like I said. And also, whenever I do inevitably allow Levi to play games with guns, like Fortnite and stuff like that, it's a very good kids first shooter. Like it's
right.
There's really no scoping down. It's spongy. It's easy. The
non-human enemies.
Non-human enemies is big. You say that. I know you didn't say that jokingly, but some people might hear that jokingly, and like that's a very, very big thing. It's why like Fortnite still is not really cool in my book, because it's just like, I don't know, you're just shooting dudes in the head with a sniper rifle, and it's like, we're close, but yeah. Was there something weirdly about Halo where I feel like more comfortable with my son shooting a pistol at like a little grunt than anything? But
have you enjoyed the vehicles? Because that has always been my favorite part of these games. The
so
Warthog.
I've only gotten to drive around the Warthog so far.
Okay.
I tried to. I don't. It's interesting. I think I have a lot of Halo 2 in my head, but I'm wondering, can you go on Banshees in Halo 1? Can you, like, if an enemy is driving a Banshee up to you, can I get it? Because I know you could do that in 2.
Right.
But can I do that in 1? Because I died like 5 times trying. And like I never even saw a button prompt that could do it.
I don't remember.
Because like the moment they touch you with a Banshee, you're just dead. Because I was fighting a hunter and I killed the hunter, and I'm like, give me your sword. Where's your sword? I want your sword. I saw you using it. And I was like, oh yeah, you couldn't use energy swords until 2.
Yeah, good point. I don't know. Yeah,
but
I know Warthog, the tank, and the Ghost for sure. But
yeah, the Warthog, it's cool. It drives exactly like the Borderlands car does, which I weirdly have more familiarity with than that. But I've always been anti-vehicle. But I think that's mostly because I don't like them in multiplayer scenarios where it's just like, no, get out of there, stop being a bitch. But like in the campaign sense, like it's that is something that I don't think was really being done in this day and age in 2001, and probably one of the reasons that this first-person shooter campaign is more regarded is because like the vehicles allow you to just traverse so much faster, where you're not just like.
With co-op, a vehicle is, you have the driver and you have the gunner, which is the fun spot.
That is something like, I got a Warthog. The passenger jumped in. The gunner jumped in. The gunner had 1 health bar, so I jumped out, shot him in the head because like, no, give me a new gunner who's got health. And then another NPC just ran over and jumped in, and he had full health. But I was like, that's pretty good. Like for that day and age, like that's the type of shit I'm talking about, where it's like pre-2001. You would never expect the AI to have enough smarts to be like, oh, this is an empty seat, I can run over and get into it.
Right.
To the point where there was some Covenant over in the distance. I had a Warthog, but nobody in it. So I was like, let me drive over to, like, not knowing that this was going to happen. Let me drive over to the Marines, see if that works. Oh shit, it worked. And then I drove it over there. I parked it high on like a little ridge, and he like just did that. Yeah. I jumped in, and so there is a lot that this game did that put it in the top tier of video games of all time. But it doesn't. It's not holding up as well as that, but it's still holding up pretty well, and I'm digging it.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot like GoldenEye, it was kind of built around the social aspect.
Yeah.
That a lot of the younger listeners probably don't realize of what it felt like to be in the same room playing a multiplayer game, landing consoles together.
Dude, the first time we landed 2 Xboxes together and had an 8-person local match, I was like, this is magic. Like this is like legit magic. Where it's like, yeah, you're with your, and I was 14. Are you ever friends with friends more hard than when you're 14? I mean, like,
right.
I think there's a famous line from Stand By Me or something like that. But like, I've never had friends that good since I was 12. Hell, do any of us ever? Or something like that. Some really good line. Where you're with your 7 best friends in the world. You got pizza. You're talking shit. You're the last one standing with another guy, and you're not expected to win because your friend's not, or one of you is good at video games. The other, it created something special, and that's coming from 2 non-multiplayer guys, at least historically. But
yeah, so if I was to go back, how I'd feel, but yeah, I don't remember the campaigns as much as I did the multiplayer stuff.
That's because
it's like I did it once and it was over.
Yeah, and that's like I'm curious to see if I get to the end of Halo 3 if it is this like. That was a good, meaty story that really went places and had character development and had a wide variety of characters I care about. Because right now I can just tell you Master Chief and Keys. That's it.
Cortana.
And Cortana.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if it can get there. Right now I'll tell you Halo 1 doesn't. But
no, I don't think so. I mean, it gets more interesting when they introduce the other enemy, the Flood.
Yeah.
But and the I don't even remember his name. The other character, the floating AI thing that you
343 Guilty Spark.
Yeah, the Guilty Spark.
Which they just introduced him last night. I'm like, wait, who are you? I think I missed the crucial part because Levi ran downstairs. He has this dumb habit of I can't wait for summer to end, man. And go back to school where it's just like 10 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, oh yeah, everybody's asleep, and then I'm in my basement. It's pitch dark, and I just hear all the like peripherals. And he just charges at me and tries to scare me because like that's what kids do.
Yeah.
I think he did that at like the worst possible time, like in the middle of like, what's going on? I need to listen to this. Leave. I go away. That's all. Halo. It's fun.
Yeah. No,
cool.
it's.
I'm glad I'm doing it, but I'll tell you, the moment I finish Halo 3, if I can like get these at a decent clip, it's the moment I sell my Xbox. So
okay. All right. Let's move on. Concord. Let's talk about it.
Sure.
It was revealed briefly last year at the PlayStation Showcase, shown again at the most recent State of Play. It got a big blowout, and we talked about it there. But this upcoming weekend is the closed beta. So again, other people have their impressions of the game right now, but starting next week, you're going to get the impressions of the Between the Joysticks crew as we both have beta keys for the closed beta, which is starting July 12th through 14th.
Thanks, Will.
And then an opening beta. Yes, thanks, pal of the show, Will, for those keys. And then an open beta from July 18th to the 20th.
I'm just going to get this out here while I'm thinking about it. Just so you know, Will, I'm expecting your written thoughts on the beta for us to read on air after we play. Just so you know, a little bit of homework for you.
And yeah, this is kind of, again, this is Sony, last year's PlayStation Showcase was this big initiative for first party live service games, and this is the first one of the three being Concord, Fair Games, and Marathon. And yeah, on August 23rd, this game will be out officially. So I wanted to go into this as kind of what, John, let's just say, let's take all the tangibles out. Let's take away you have no time.
Yep.
That you're coming to this with an open mind. You're going, hey, maybe this will replace Rocket League in my rotation of games to go to. What can this game do this weekend for you to leave and say, I'm buying this day one? What is it going to take?
Okay. Good question.
Because we'll know by next week, but we got this time period, this open mindedness to the game.
Yeah.
What can it do for you?
This is a hard question. I got some thoughts, but so inherently, it's got an incredibly tough road to climb. That's hill to climb, mountain to climb.
In the industry itself.
In the
But we're talking about you.
I know, for the general population, but also for me, right? And that's not from the angle of like I thought the trailer looked shitty or anything like that. That's from the angle that this is such a not me kind of game, right?
Okay.
So it needs to do a lot for me to want to buy it. It's not impossible, but one thing that I think they need to start with is fun, varied, unique kinds of weapons. I know that's maybe a weird spot to start, but like if we go into this game and it's SMG, machine gun, heavy machine gun, shotgun, pistol, rocket launcher, I can tell you I'm out before we even get started. Because like I know this is a hero shooter, you got your characters, they're going to add their personality into it, they're going to have special moves, all that kind of stuff, but like I can't imagine this is going to be a game that I'm going to bounce around from character to character. And I'll probably find a couple people that I like if I got into it at all. So I need to be able to have some sort of moment-to-moment weapon that allows me to just have fun, or even the ability to have some sort of leveling up system that allows me to chase that carrot at the end of the stick that gives me a different type of gun or a different thing that's wild and weird and is viable, but also just kind of like you wouldn't think. Like I'm thinking of Tiny Rogues right now, where it's just like I wouldn't think that a kitten cannon would be something I would want, and I don't think you can lean into that in this sweaty first-person shooter type thing either. But like, talk to Insomniac, talk to those guys, and figure out ways to make each character feel like this is the entire package is this person, not just like the way they look in one special move, but like everything about that would be a good place to start for me.
Yeah, that's funny enough exactly where I wanted to start too, because what got me into Overwatch was the characters that weren't shooting. Yeah. That their roles were in the grand scheme of things were not solely focused on killing the other teammates. And specifically that was like Reinhardt, who is this big massive shield character with a hammer. So he doesn't shoot at all, and he's more of a support character that puts his shield up and blocks it for his team because they can shoot through it, but the other team cannot. And then also Mercy, who is a healer in the game, who she does have a secondary pistol, but her primary way of contributing is either healing or boosting the damage of other players. And I think, when you go into this game and you're just like, the generic weapons are there and they're all going to be based on how well I play first-person shooters. Same here. I'm going to be out because I just don't have the skill level I did when I was playing Modern Warfare every day.
Got these old arthritis hands.
That I'm just going to feel that's going to be a bad experience for me if I'm losing because there's a heavy reliance on my first-person shooter prowess.
Especially if we're playing. Maybe you know this. Are we playing against PC players? Because like if that's the case, like also, it's probably something you can turn off or turn on. But like mouse and keyboard, you're going to get smoked every single time by those people. If you are relying on.
Yeah, and I know that they've made strides in that area because you can, because of like aim assist on console and stuff like that. So
for sure.
And I'm sure it'll prefer that we play with other PlayStation characters.
Yeah. I'm sure you can probably turn it off if you want, but. Yeah, it's funny you talking about this. Like I never got into Overwatch, but I do remember one of the big discussions when that game came out was like the people who would just get so mad at other people when they're not doing what that character is supposed to be doing or like working as a team. Or it's like they're just running off on their own again. It's like, what are you fucking doing?
Or having the optimal build, like our team composition.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of Colts and
this is the opening weekend, so I don't think you'll run into like that stuff of like like you're playing that character wrong, or we really need this character in this composition. It's just too early for that for the meta to find.
That's actually a really good segue, Noah, and I didn't even have this written down. But what it needs to not do is it needs to figure out a way to limit those type of people, because that will be such a I don't know how you do that if you can't have your cake and eat it too of this competitive 5v5 hero shooter and then reducing the sweatiness of it. But if I give this game a shot and I get some asshole that's like, hey man,
like I said, I don't think so.
Are you sure you want to be that character? Like, I'm really good as him. Like, you should. It's like, dude, I don't think. Or you can probably play this game entirely without your mics on and stuff like that. But yeah.
I mean, toxicity exists in all these games, so that is something they will have to deal with. I just don't think it's something we would deal with when nobody knows what's going on.
For sure.
It's like the first day everyone's playing it. But I think again, the varied weapons and different ways to play than your standard headshots is definitely key. Did you have any other things that you think?
Yeah, I got two others. One that's very obvious. We need an incredibly solid roadmap, right? We need to know. I think they're doing the right things with the $40 price point, saying everything coming after this is included. I think the vignettes are what people are most excited for with this game. I personally don't give a shit, but that is something that's like, okay, cool, you're adding.
Are they though? Are they? You think there's excitement around
every single time I hear people talk about this game, they're like, it looks generic as shit, but I do think the vignettes thing's cool. And so it's like, I guess. So
to clarify, the vignettes is they're supposed to have weekly story cutscenes involving the characters of the game.
Right. A obvious ploy to try and get you to care about these characters and have some sort of story element there when it's a completely gameplay dominated game. So I don't care about that, but you do need to have 2 characters a year. Maybe.
Yeah.
Bringing those, we need updates that are more than cosmetics. I don't know what that would be. New maps. I think this game, this is kind of outside of the question, but I think this game is going to, I think it has one shot at success, which might seem a little shitty. They need to figure out a game mode variant that explodes. I think that's their one shot of salvation, right? Like Fortnite famously was not Battle Royale when it was created. They lucked themselves into that. You're never going to find a level of success at that level, but if they need to figure out something, right? We keep talking about setting yourself apart, becoming unique.
Right. I don't want to push the payload. Like that's a Overwatch. Like every map.
Is that a game? I was like, what does that mean? That's a game. That's a game mode.
And not in Concord, but in Overwatch, a lot of the maps were you're capturing points, and then you go on, and then the map quote unquote changes because there's a point further on and a point further on.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Overwatch maps where that kind of mechanic, like push an object to a point or capture that point, and then go to the next one. So definitely varied game modes. I don't think necessarily one has to catch on, but they do need a couple that feel really, really satisfying and just different.
I wonder if they're gonna I wonder what the infrastructure of this game looks like, and what I mean by that is will this always and forever be 5v5, or are they thinking
Overwatch was not always 6v6?
Yeah, they never made it huge though, did they?
No, they just went to 5v5.
Yeah, but if I were them, I would continuously have some team at Haven. No, Firewalk. Firewalk.
Yeah, Firewalk.
I would continuously have some team at Firewalk that's continuously trying to push the envelope of because if you can get more characters in there, if you can get an 8-on-8, that just allows you to maybe try and vary up the types of game modes that we can have, or I don't know if they're want to work on some sort of single player campaign mode. That obviously poo-pooed very quickly with Overwatch. Maybe there's no reason to do that, but they need to think outside the box in every which possible way that they can with this game.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully the one thing, and I think that if we talk about how a lot of the stuff will be free, but hopefully the one thing I like about Helldivers is that season passes don't go away.
Yeah.
They always exist, so you can always be working on it, and maybe there's multiple season, or in Helldivers' case, there's multiple war bonds, and you can just pick the one you want to work on.
Right.
I want this loot here. And that would be great for this game too, is to adopt this thing of you're not getting the FOMO that these other games that you don't feel like you have to compete and be playing this game daily to just reach the end of the battle pass. because it's always going to be there. And I think that would be something I would be if I wanted to be into this game more. If it plays well and everything works out after this beta weekend, and we're looking far in the future, that kind of stuff really works.
Yeah. I think they will. I mean, I don't know if it'll be ready off the jump, but I would be shocked if Sony isn't taking every possible lesson and tip that they can from Helldivers. In at least like what does the community feel about the game? What are the positive things to do? What do people not respond with? And so a War Bonds permanent season pass, I would hope that that's a lesson they would take away from Helldivers. It's a good call.
Did you want to say your third one?
No, it was kind of roped into the they need some sort of killer like mode type thing. That was going to kind of be my third, is like some sort of, easier said than done, but if they can it can't just be 5v5 hero shooter. That will not work long term.
Yeah, and just finally, like, you have to like these characters. Like, you kind of do. Like, I think if you want to get into this game and and find a character, you have to like them as well, and they have to have personality and be interesting, because that's going to draw you to the things they want you to be drawn into, like the cosmetics and stuff like that. And if you're not into those things,
and that's I think there is, and call me shitty, call me, I don't know. I think there's no chance I like these characters, and that's going to be one of the hardest parts about it. And in fact, I wrote it here. I said, I personally do not care about the story. I know I'm not going to care about the characters. I need a fun, non-sweaty loop. So
but you do like Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
I do, but like to transfer that into a game that I'm playing, you have to remember, Nick, I am gameplay dude, right? So
I know.
When I think about booting something up, it's not because I need to see what the next story beat of this character's vignette is. It's I need to just do the thing that's fun to me. So like I'm not disagreeing with you. I think for the most people, you included, the people whose gaming pies are more on the narrative side.
Right.
It is absolutely crucial, and you can tell. I think they realize that with the vignettes thing that they're trying. But like, hot sauce guy and Star,
the ones
Star
they chose,
boy, Starman, Star Child. Good luck. I mean.
I mean, there's 16 characters, so
they got
definitely have only brushed the surface of.
I want some like old curmudgeon-y man that's just like an asshole to everyone. Like I would be that guy.
Sure.
Put him in a wheelchair, but like I don't know, it'd be fun.
Yeah, you'd have the same souls.
yeah, exactly. Put a little bell on it, and I can ding, BTO, but. Just don't, and I'm not saying this to go at you, Nick, or just don't make every single character that Marvel-y. Like, just don't do that.
Yeah.
Give me somebody that's like, a fucking dirty grandpa that just like, fucking, I don't know, says inappropriate shit all the time. Or I don't know. Like, that's the type of character I would gravitate towards.
Yeah. And again, to Overwatch's credit, like a lot of their characters were all over the place. They had evil characters. They had.
Who was the evil characters?
Like Reaper. That dual shotgun wielding guy.
Oh, with like the Punisher looking face?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
Moira.
seems so nice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wait, that's bad.
And then like, people don't want to admit this, but one other thing that made Overwatch very popular, and its characters very popular, was the pornification.
So it's cosplay type shit
of its characters as well, and that. Say what they will about,
Tracer's in the Hall of Fame of porny characters, I would say.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Oh, every character in Overwatch is, but that does something. If people are attracted to your characters, that's again that attachment.
I played Stellar Blade for the combat, Nick. Okay.
Yeah, and same with we didn't talk about the First Descendants. Got some horny characters too.
I mean, I'll tell you off the get-go, with the 5 they've shown, they are not going the sex.
No.
They are not going the sex.
No, but again, there's 16, so
for sure. But like, we have some very clothed individuals, so it'd be quite a change. But you're right.
That's it.
But also, costumes are everything, right? So like this character, I'm pointing at some lady with a overcoat on, trench coat. Yeah, you can give her just something else. Here's her Tifa costume.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm kind of excited. Again, I think it is a first-party effort into a game as a service game
That
like
is
this
the most intriguing thing about it.
is huge, and I know.
I wish it was a first party though that we have a example like that's also there's no example of a Firewalk game. So like
Right,
you know,
yeah,
it's a
Unproven
weird-
Studio
it's a weird
too
one.
is. Yeah, there's a lot to look at here, and we didn't even obviously for it to succeed it has to feel great to play and stuff like that. But that's obvious.
One thing to keep note though, this is a game that Sony saw and then bought Firewalk for.
Right.
So like
Before release.
That's interesting. There's something. Now is that more of a we believe in this game, or is that more we need to fill out our live service thing? But they are a company that loves making second party deals. So like it's weird that they just like no, give us you.
Right.
We want you.
Right.
I want you.
Yeah, but yeah, again, next week, next show, episode 104, we'll have full on impressions of the game.
And then, Will, I'm speaking to you directly now since I totally am really bad at communicating in other ways. Let me know when works for you to play. Nick and I were thinking...
We only do this podcast for one person, so...
Yeah, I know. But I'm speaking to him directly.
We'll work it out.
Let us know, Will,
Yeah.
when works for you.
We'll work it out. So, so we'll have that next week. All right, John. Show's running long. Let's get to this final topic because we finally have some decisions made. Our video game character battle royale is down to its final two.
Holy shit, we did
people.
it. Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Nick and I's children both died.
Our long-running topic that has been since our September 26th episode. We've been almost a year-long topic. I hate you, John, for doing this.
Gave you all the... First off, this has been content, baby. Content. People like it. All right? Second
True.
off, I told you well in advance. I was like, here is the schedule. 8 months minimum. You go, sounds great.
All right, let's get into it. We have deciders here. So, in the battle of Dante and 2B, Dante moves on. And in the battle between Zagreus and Solid Snake, I'm making a last-second check to make sure nothing's changed. Zagreus is moving on.
What, is that a vote from David Hayter?
I wish.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
If he could just retweet our show, that'd be great.
Do our intro.
Yeah. Our final matchup now is Zagreus versus Dante. And good luck, John, arguing for either one of these characters because they're as perfectly matched as possible.
I mean, that's the thing is like I think it's two deserving finalists. If Crash got all the way, I'd be pretty pissed. If Rayman got all the way, I'd be like, this is a joke. But like at least these two make sense.
I'm glad your feelings aren't hurt anymore.
Well,
with the finals.
Kratos should be here, but
there's no fun in that. You would have picked them.
Exactly, and like God of War has won like every type of thing we've done with this, but
yeah.
So we're arguing for him right now, right? Okay,
yeah.
This is it. By next episode, we might have the champion. I feel like we should. I don't know. Whoever wins, I get myself like a little mini figure, or maybe I thought about if Dante does win, doing like a playthrough of Devil May Cry 5. It would be fun, but...
I've never played it.
You haven't?
No. I tried. I started it, and then I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Because it was a PlayStation Plus extra game. So.
Yeah, it's an issue. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if I have low willpower one day, I'll buy myself it and then throw it to you, and then... Because there's a PS5 version, but anyway. Okay. So
let's start here.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss. Like there's nothing to
like the differences. Like what does one have over the other? And I will say with Zagreus, he does have the boon of the Greek gods. Like,
helping him.
Yeah, like he can get like stat boost and all kinds of things tailored to Greek gods. So Zeus can give him electricity, thunderbolts, and Hermes gives them the speed and everything, and Aphrodite charming and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that is something.
Aphrodite would be effective against Dante. Like she'd
that
be
is something
one.
Zagreus has in his corner, and it's a little bit, it's probably a little cheap because they are kind of like companions in that kind of sense, and Dante does have his fair share of companions, but these are this is kind of different because they enhance him specifically. They're not coming in and just tossing a grenade and leaving.
Right, and it's like if you're in the heat of battle, it's not like Zagreus is ever pulling, except for that special move that you can get. It's not like Zeus comes down in the middle of a battle and says, "Here you go, son," and go use this. So he'd have to kind of establish what he's using going into the fight. I guess can we officially say that Zagreus is not fighting in the mortal world because he won last fight? So because that's another easy thing to throw out and just be like, well, if it takes place in blah blah blah. But I'm gonna say Dante's probably been to hell, or he has he's a demon, so they're fighting in hell for even sake. But those are good points. I think on a inherent skill level, I do think Dante is probably a little bit stronger. When I think about
definitely the more experienced player,
he's
more games.
His average enemy, I would say, is a higher skill level. Like he is fighting monstrous demons and crazy looking devils and things like that. And while Zagreus is fighting, Cyclopses and he fights the Minotaur. He fights
three-headed snake,
Hydra, yeah, and Megara. The level of caliber of enemy is not quite there,
and the fact that he's always fighting the same ones over and over again.
Yeah, and I think there's just Zagreus is super fast. Dante's faster. Zagreus is super strong. Dante's probably stronger. Dante has his guns. You would think Zagreus needs to pick a specific weapon going into this fight too. He can't have the bow and the sword and the guns. Like he's got to pick one in the rules of fighting. So I think Dante's got him on a weapon level. They're both equally sassy and smarmy, and probably wouldn't get under either skin. They'd probably just bounce, like all their shit talking or / charming would just probably bounce off the other one. So that doesn't.
Yeah, they probably actually like each other.
They would bro out hard. they would definitely bro out hard. They're both pretty boys who Hey Dante, want to go hook up with Meg while I go hook up with. Fuck, what was it? What was the chick from Devil May Cry's name?
Which one?
I don't know. The one that was like in the Trish.
Yeah,
there it is, Trish.
Yeah.
I don't know. My balls are telling me Dante wins this fight. Dante was kind of always one from the get-go that I thought he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Really, it was Kratos, Dante, and Doom Guy were the three that I was like, you guys are going to be tough.
Right.
Zagreus is up. I mean, they're both demigods. So, at the end of the day, Zagreus
half
seems
human,
to be
half god.
Zagreus seems to bounce back more. I can't recall Dante dying, quote unquote, and then just coming back. I think he can.
Yeah,
but I
feel
can't.
Like he's been stabbed in the chest with swords and.
Oh, for sure. But he's not
dying.
Where Zagreus goes "Ugh," and he's just got to come out of the pool of blood. So he's got a weird invincibility thing. But he's also. It's actually something they could bro out with too, is they both fight their dads in the first. Sparta and I think the boss in the first game is no, that's not the boss. You don't fight your dad. You get your dad's sword or something. I don't. It's been so long. I don't know. I'm putting my foot into Dante's camp. I think Dante has just the experience, a little bit of the edge with a lot of the other things too.
Yeah, a lot of things. More recognizable character, a face of video games. Like you said, just an overall power level that seems to just be higher than Zagreus, and Zagreus's whole gimmick of fighting over and over, dying multiple times until you eventually beat them. That doesn't really apply here. He's gonna, if he loses, it's over.
Dante does feel very Goku, where it's like he's as strong as he needs to be. And I feel like I don't know if it's ever been explained, but I feel like that's him.
Yeah, that's kind of the genre. Even Bayonetta's the same way of being always just meeting the ridiculousness of the character you're dealing with. So
right.
I also would put Dante as the winner, but we'll let our listeners decide.
Yeah, please vote. I don't want to go into this final with a 1-0 win or even a 1-2. You guys, I'm calling upon some action here. The final vote. I'll promise I'll wait a couple weeks before I annoy you guys with another 6-month tournament or something, because I have some other ideas. But please vote.
Yeah. It'll be fun to be over.
Yeah, then we got to really stretch for topics, Nick.
No, have you seen our run times lately? We don't have any problem talking.
That is true.
At all.
I was worried how I was going to talk about any games today.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't got anything to say about the First
another long,
Descendant.
super long podcast. So,
Yep.
All right, we did it. It's done with. Let's get to the teases. Obviously, Concord. We'll definitely be talking about that next week, as we will have played it and have our impressions, and hopefully they are positive. We'll see.
Yeah.
I have no idea actually how I'm going to come out of this thing. To be honest,
I am doing my best not to go in with preconceived notions. That's my main,
that's all I ask.
That's my main goal here is
all I
not to
ask.
have made up my mind within the first 3 matches or something.
All I want is a solid hour to 2 hours of your time to give it its proper.
Yep. Yeah.
But.
And I mean it's first party, baby. I mean, come on. Like, you got to support first
Yeah,
party.
you're gonna get that PlayStation Studios boot up. So
That's true. That is true.
But do you have anything else to tease outside of? I'm assuming you're just gun ho Erdtree.
Or Halo or Tiny Rooks. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Erdtree is the focus. I might dabble in some more Halo, next week, because I want to continuously make progress through that, just to not be like, I haven't touched Halo and whatever. And these were 8-hour games, 7-hour games.
No, they're not very
10
long.
hours, so should be able to get through the 3 pretty quickly. But no, it'll be those and.
I do think the podcast is just over 2 years old. There are so many games we played before we started doing this. That would be fun to be just revisiting other games like Halo and BioShock and all these other
Metal Gear
games.
Solid 4 or Nier Automata.
Sure, I guess that one, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping on my end to beat Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I'm really hoping I'm done by next show so I can give it a proper review.
Proper send off.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I got on my mind about that game.
Do you see that the Yakuza creator said that the next entry is going to surprise people? Like, what does that look like?
This game seems to be building up to the end of Kazuma Kiryu's story. There's a lot of references to his 0 through 6 adventures, and even the spin-off samurai one that
Ishin.
Yeah, that I'm curious if they continue with this the Yakuza franchise, and if they're not referring to because they did Lost Judgment and other like side stories in this same kind of styling. That would they get away from the characters we know now?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, it's either that or they're gonna switch up the gameplay again. But I mean, they've only been in this turn-based thing for 2 games when they did like 10 of the beat-em style. But I don't know, because I mean, I thought the idea was what's the character's name with the bushy hair? Ichiban.
Ichiban Kasuga.
Yeah, I thought they were kind of positioning him to just be like the next Kiryu, where we're gonna ride this guy's coattails for 5-6 years, but they also have access to metrics and things. Well, people aren't latching onto them as much, or I don't know. Who knows? But,
it's just so much game. Like you're saying 2 games, but it's a lot, and I'm shocked at how much voice acting is put into this game.
Yeah, dude, and they
insane.
Every year and a half. Here comes another one.
Yeah, and then it's January. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth came out in January, and 6 months later they're talking about the next game. Like, what the fuck are you on?
They just created. I mean, if they are doing what they've been doing, I mean the Yakuza 0 through 6 formula is genius. Base bones is always here. And we just vary what's going on in the meat.
It's more. Yeah, it's just super writing smart. And pretty much because they reuse a lot of assets, and a lot of assets are used in this game. But I'll give my full thoughts when I beat it. So that is coming. But I think that's it. It's gonna be slow until next month, and then games will start coming again.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, now is the time. Do not let Erdtree get past me. Do not get to the next. Do not get to Astrobot and say I haven't beaten it yet. Fuck.
Yeah.
So
don't do that.
I won't.
And we don't even talk about their updating Astro's Playroom with stuff teasing for Astrobot. So
the Bloodborne so Astrobot is
2 months.
Explicitly a reference to Bloodborne 2. You heard it here first.
Again, 2 months from that game. Yeah, the games will be coming, but July catch up. Everyone, if you're listening, catch up.
That'd be hilarious if like there's just a level in Astrobot that like at the end of the level it just goes, and we're remastering Bloodborne. Hi, bye. That's just the way they announce it.
Yeah, it's actually secretly announcing all their next games. The next
We're doing an ape escape
Ghost of
thing.
Tsushima 2. Yeah, all the next game from Naughty Dog. Drake's daughter, she's gonna show up and be like, "I'm in. Yep, Uncharted 5. That's me."
That'd be so. You should do that. That's a good idea. I like that.
It would be cool if the game was like released like just like in a vacuum, like it just released and everyone was experiencing it, and maybe social media didn't exist because, journalists would get a hold of this and just be like, "Oh yeah, look at they announced all their games in this. Isn't that a fun idea?"
Yeah. Or just or if they treated Astrobot and this can't be a thing anymore because they've already announced it, but like as a platform and like every 8 months they're like, "Hey, we updated it," and you're like, this is always going to be a way to tease the next game. Like, here's the next level. Oh shit, what's it going to be? And you have to wait till get to the end. That'd be so cool. I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's not very practical. It's not going to make you money, but it's
No.
It's for the fans, for the players.
But I think like it's interesting they're doing this route to hype up Astro
for sure.
Bot. That's interesting. So.
Yep. They're putting a lot behind that little guy, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to the song.
Yeah.
Metal Gear's been on the brain. We got an email talking about Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid Delta is coming. And, and I'm just hoping one day that this game will not be console locked to the PS4.
One day.
So we're going to go with a song from Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. The song is called Old Snake, and this is from the composer of that game, Harry Gregson Williams.
Old Snake. His name's Old Snake.
Yeah.
It's Old Snake.
It's like Mr. Magoo.
Not like Young Snake.
So enjoy that song. That's the soundtrack of that game, as all the Metal Gear games
He's
are
only
fantastic.
45, but he looks like 90. It's Old Snake. It's Old Snake.
Hey, his body's decomposing, all right, because he's a clone. All right, enjoy the song. Again, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. And of course, we will be back next week with Up to 6 Things. Bye, guys.
Latest.